Hello again and welcome back to Netflix Football HD. And tonight is not just one night because the memoirs of 2002, where the first match of the World Cup between Senegal and France ended in the victory for the Davids versus the Goliaths. We do remember a certain El Hadji Diouf went on to score the winner and then make his move to Liverpool. Tonight, we are going to talk about the dependency of Mbappe for France. Is Didier Deschamps holding France back? And if Sadio Mane, a former Liverpool winger, can repeat the exploits for that result that happened all the way back in 2002. Quality oppositions tonight to watch in the World Cup, which is absolutely shaping up fantastically. And this is going to be one heck of a match. You cannot get away from the fact that France is one of the strongest teams on paper. The squad that they have is absolutely amazing. You just cannot have one bite away from it. There are some key inclusions in that French squad and some key exclusions from the last two World Cups. But one man is always constant. N'Golo Conte, we'll be talking about if his presence in midfield. I do not have the lineups yet. If anyone can drop the lineups on the chat, that would be amazing. Because N'Golo Conte from the last two World Cups has been N'Golo Conte. You cannot imagine a French side without an N'Golo Conte. Even at this age, N'Golo Conte is still one of, let's say, for the lack of a better player, is still one of the best in his position. You just cannot drop an N'Golo Conte. It is that magnanimous of his stature, that magnanimous of his presence in the dressing room, off the field and on the field as well. Off the field, he's just a humble guy wanting to play FIFA. We've seen that. And on the field, he is absolutely a monster. The silent assassin, because one moment you will have the ball in your feet and the next moment N'Golo Conte will just swoosh in like an anime character and take away the ball from in front of your eyes. You cannot do anything about it. We'll talk more in depth about the positional plays as we go throughout the video. Saurav Das, welcome to the chat. Iraq versus Norway will also be one to watch. Iraq in US soil. Less I say about that is better. Okay, sorry, that was Iran, my bad. But still, you cannot determine US people whenever it comes to countries in the Middle East. Norway is one to watch definitely because Erling Haaland, Martin Odegaard especially fresh of a Premier League victory and a Champions League defeat. We would have to see what happens there, but definitely that would be an interesting way to unfold things. Ruan Keys, thank you for the lineup. France lineup in a 4-2-3-1 formation where Mike Maignan starts in goal. Theo Hernandez, Upamecano, Saliba, Koundé form up the defense. Rabiot and Tchouaméni. N'Golo Kante surprisingly does not start. A Desiree Doué, a Dembele, an Olise and an Mbappe starts. So if I just do this, I think this should be the French lineup. Yep. This is, guys, how the French contingent are lining up today. And the first topic we'll talk about, is how dependent France have become, how over-dependent France have become over a Kylian Mbappe. He is one of the best players in the world since his days in PSG. When he made that 180 move to PSG from Monaco, we have seen how lightning he is, especially donning the number 10 jersey at the 2018 World Cup, which he won. The final, amazing performance from him. A hat-trick in a final is something you do not have. You absolutely do not have. Crazy game in that last match, and thank God that Kolo Muani BC is not there. Sahi mein. That guy still gives me nightmares because of being a Brazil fan. You do not want to see Argentina being victors, and Kolo Muani ruined the script. Talking about the Senegal lineup, Mendy starts, Haji Malik Diouf, Niakhaté, Koulibaly, Diat. Man, that is a mean bloody defense. Do not go into the semantics of it. Sadio Mane, Nicholas Jackson and Ismail Assar. We all know how Ismail Assar has caused trouble over the years in the Premier League. But I am surprised that NDI from Everton does not make the starting lineup. We did expect Ismail Assar to start, but NDI should have gotten the nod over him, but I do not know how that would line up. But definitely that is one thing to talk about. Starting off with France, Saurav Das says, we are 2018 champions, 2022 runners-up. Definitely the team to beat. On paper, yes. But this match, like we saw Spain the other day, complacent Spanish Armada, France will have to get the go on from minute one, because this Senegal team is no Cape Verde. This Senegal team is absolutely different, and this Senegal team will hit you on the counter, has quality players in midfield, has a tight defense, they break lightning fast. You'd expect them to sit back, yes, you'd expect them to sit back, but they can hit you on the counters. We'll go into depth. Do stick around for the Senegal, the Senegal analysis that is coming up. But for now, this is how the French contingent will line up. Mike Maignan is a constant in this defense. Theo Hernandez, finally, we see his brother used to start, but Deschamps has now opted for Theo Hernandez. Upamecano and Saliba, I did expect a Konate to add there, but definitely Upamecano has been. Jibogda, welcome to the chat, says 2002 game 1. Did I say something else? Apologies. First game in the 2002 World Cup where Senegal beat France. I apologize if anything went wrong, but right now it's no time for apology, because the French contingent have their mission to be on that third successive World Cup final. Theo Hernandez, Upamecano and Saliba, Koundé. You'd expect a Malo Gusto, who is more of an attacking option. I've seen him in Chelsea. He's definitely brilliant. Maybe not that elite fullback, but definitely one of the better ones in that French right back position, because France never really had truly a great marauding right back. Expect Debuchy not being that much of elite in or world class. You'd expect someone of a Benjamin Pavard, who definitely was not a right back. It's makeshift, but remember his goal was absolutely fantastic there. Saliba is Saliba, one of the best centre backs in world football right now. Fresh off a victory with Arsenal, and he'll add that set piece prowess, the pace and the power, the anticipation. Upamecano is actually my doubt, because we know how eccentric he can be. Jibagda says, Nareva, I must have missed that part. I mean, the way this World Cup is going for European teams, it'll be a repeat of that game tonight. Maybe, as I said, France cannot be complacent like Spain, cannot be lazy like a Spanish team yesterday night. Spain were too comfortable the entire match. Even though Lamine Yamal did not play, they were just making overlaps, just passing the ball for the sake of it, and you do not expect Ferran Torres. And if you have Ferran Torres in a major tournament, you know what is going to happen. Now, coming back to France, Upamecano is actually my doubt for where this game could be won or lost. On his day, Upamecano, beast, but seldom, very often it is not his day, and Upamecano has that error in him. You do not expect consistency. It's like an Eric Bailly situation for Manchester United. He will either dribble all of the team and become a Maradona, proverbially saying, or he will become that position to target in defense. But nevertheless, excellent ball playing defender, recently signed a contract for Bayern. You do expect, since he has grown much more mature over the years, I do expect, but still there is that slight bit of a question mark whenever it comes to an Upamecano. Theo Hernandez always bombing up and down, especially you'll see him playing in this position more often, and whenever Mbappe cuts in, he'll provide the natural width for the French in the wide half. Jules Koundé, you do not see him overlap much, but he does provide support to Lamine Yamal. He can do it. It's not that he does it often, but he can do it. But I would expect this defense line to be static. Koundé occupying this position, Tchouaméni dropping back, and Rabiot. The first thing when I see the France midfield, right, there is a lack of pace, there is a lack of urgency, and with Pogba no longer being there, a Griezmann who played in a deeper role of a box-to-box in the last World Cup, he's not there. Who is going to be your main playmaker? You cannot expect a Desiree Doué to pull the strings all along. Excellent dribbler, excellent down the lines, and he can provide those half spaces, but it always is the question mark that where is the ball coming from? We saw similar patterns exactly for Netherlands team, where the lack of a natural number 10 in the starting lineup caused mayhem. Whereas if you started this player, I rate him highly, guys. Where is this guy? If you instead started with a Ryan Cherky, he can be mercurial, but Ryan Cherky is bags of talent. Especially, I remember in like Lyon versus Manchester United, he received the ball from here. He's predominantly a left-footed player, but he's ambidextrous, and he unleashed a shot. He's absolutely magical. But then again, the discipline is something that is a bit of a question mark. But I definitely would have gone for Cherky. But Didier Deschamps has his own ideas. Bring Theo Hernandez to United. Theo Hernandez is past his prime. I do not want United to go into the depths of names, but rather focus forward like a Luis Hall. Not even Alvaro Carreras, who there are links about him, but I would definitely prefer a Luis Hall. You would, as United, you would definitely sign the best players in the Premier League and look up and not down, because we are not there to stay. Third is the message from Ineos. Now, if essentially Mbappe, we know how much, I'm still not sure where Mbappe is going to play. Is Dembele going to line up through the right? Is a Desiree Doué going to play here? And Dembele, Mbappe going to play split striker? We'll see that rotation. Definitely we'll see that rotation, being Mbappe and Dembele being good friends on and off the pitch. Their chemistry is there. And you'd expect them to shuffle and shift. Because this triangle is going to be important for France to actually pull out the Senegalese defense. And you'd expect magic to happen. But my question is to all you in the chat, especially Sadio Mane will play this position, and we know Olise is not that much excellent in covering his tracks. He's silky, he's smooth, but can he do a job in defense? We've seen him do that, but to that extent of a player of the stature of a Sadio Mane, who will predominantly test Koundé and not let him go forward. Dembele will drift out to this position, and Dembele, who has played false nine throughout this season for PSG, he can pull strings. So if a Desiree Doué, so I think this might be how France line up through transitions or in changes of play, where Theo Hernandez and an Olise are here in possession. A Tchouaméni, Rabiot slightly further forward, because Rabiot is a better ball progressor, and a Tchouaméni who is that ball winner in that team. A Dembele would essentially play near the halfway line and dropping deep, like remembering his days as a false nine. I think he would play there, and Mbappe in that free roll in that left channel where he is at his absolute best. Theo Hernandez providing the width or cutting inside, depending upon how Mbappe is. That position will be one to watch. Rabiot going through these channels whenever he's not there. Upamecano pushing up, and we'll see most of the team playing in this halfway line, because France would like to dominate that possession in midfield, and they have it in them. They have it in them to recycle the ball. Olise, excellent ball retention players. Desiree Doué, press resistant. And if he goes on through the right side, what we have seen for PSG and often in the French matches, where the entire front line is fluid, this would be something of a game-breaking instance. Mbappe being here, Dembele being here, and Desiree Doué sometimes going on, I would not be surprised if a Saliba or a Tchouaméni collect the ball from deep, have that play in midfield, and unleash Theo Hernandez. What that does is attract the players towards Theo Hernandez, and Mbappe, within a flash of a second, if he finds that space, he will occupy that space. And trust your guts on it that Mbappe will take a shot from anywhere on the pitch. And that is the dependency that I am bringing on to you folks on the chat. Do you think that France are too dependent upon Mbappe? Do you think that Didier Deschamps would actually be focusing on that play, or actually make Olise the star man, somebody who has had a stellar season for Bayern? Do leave your thoughts on the chat, and I will bring that into my analysis and predictions that is going to be in the rest half of the video. If you're new to the channel, do like and subscribe. And what can I say? This is exciting. It's good to be literally, and I tell you folks, literally, I've just come back from office. I've not even changed my shirt, and the passion for the game brings me back to all of you to break down those matches like all those days back. And to my credit, I actually got those two predictions bang on: Brazil and the Netherlands against Japan. Do throw your thoughts on those matches, if any one of them could be going on to win the World Cup. I do have my hopes on Japan, I'm not gonna lie. Theo Hernandez, as much as we've seen from AC Milan, can shoot. In this position, if Theo Hernandez in this position, they do not cross. And that lack of a number 9, right? A Marcus Thuram is not playing. Marcus Thuram would have added that steal to midfield, that steal to their attack. But again, that would ruin the fluidity that the French national team have. Of course, he's an option for the French from the bench. Like if you remember to the 2018 World Cup, which is still very fresh in my memory, and Olivier Giroud was actually playing the foil to Kylian Mbappe. Great to have you back, brother. It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. It's absolutely my pleasure. Nothing more than breaking down matches that I love this shit, man. I just love this shit. Can't complain. I just love this shit. And getting things right is even getting me much, much closer to where I was. I'm still making mistakes. I'll still have room to grow. Still getting back into the fold. But your support and your love is basically taking me to that next level again. For Real Madrid, you'd seen Mbappe dropping down and circulating in the halfway line, because if Dembele is a Vini, often you see Mbappe central. But right now, Mbappe has that license to play on that wide left channel. Theo Hernandez, one of, like, on paper, I would not say one of the best, but in and around that position, in and around that, like, tier rankings, if you'd have, there's no one better in that French squad than Theo Hernandez to bomb up and down. And still at this age, even with his injury concerns and even with his move in the Saudi Arabian League, he can still do it on a cold rainy night at Stoke. It's still a question, but he can still do it on a hot summery evening at the US. Afternoon at the US, to be honest. Upamecano will push up. We know how Upamecano loves to play those channel balls, and it would be either through a Theo Hernandez or an Mbappe. And if Dembele drops deep, you would see Rabiot sometimes coming here whenever Upamecano is going up the pitch and passes through here, and Dembele can cause that mayhem in defense. Supreme Commander Admiral General Kilayuddin says, wow! I'll not go into the debates of director Mbappe, but it has been the scenario for the last couple of days. It has been on the news for the last couple of days. It is what it is. He's one of the best players in the world. What do you expect? Considering this lineup in possession, and if I bring up Senegal, let me go back to the Senegal lineup to see if I have got it right. So Mendy, Malik El Hadji Diouf, Niakate, Koulibaly, and Diatta, Idrissa Gana Gueye, Diarra, and Gueye in midfield. NDI is not starting, so we'll bring in an Ismail Assar, Nicholas Jackson, and a Sadio Mane. First thing, when I see the Senegalese lineup, park the bus. That is absolutely what they're going to do. Leave no doubts about it. Nicholas Jackson hovering through in this position, a Sadio Mane in this position, Ismail Assar in this position. That is the positional play map that you would have of all these players. Make no doubts about that. Absolutely have zero doubts about that. But in tandem, in tandem, whenever they would try to break, a Sadio Mane would always be there to pounce. He can dribble, he can play. Sadio Mane has been a nemesis for us Manchester United fan over the years. Now with Al Nassr, with Cristiano Ronaldo, who plays tomorrow, we'll be covering that as well. Sadio Mane can do it all. Nicholas Jackson, for Bayern, I've not seen him because Bayern has been dominated by Harry Kane, and it's all Harry Kane. Again, Harry Kane versus Luka Modric tomorrow as well. I'll try to tip that in the Portugal podcast. But Nicholas Jackson, 50-50. I will not bet my house on him that if there's a 1v1 chance, he's going to squander it. I can literally 70%. Like, if you go into stats, right, the high XG chances that they have, Nicholas Jackson has missed one of the most high XG chances. And you can find that out on any statistical website, that Nicholas Jackson misses chances for fun. Nicholas Jackson, Igor Thiago, and Ferran Torres have tough competition. That is one of the comments of tonight. But the main man, Sadio Mane, and Koundé in this position, and a Saliba would have difficulty, because Koundé, if he stays in this position, because he would be there to support Olise in that 2v1 situation whenever they try to create overloads. France would definitely try to create overloads, and to counter that, definitely an Idrissa Gana Gueye, a Sadio Mane dropping. We'll see Sadio Mane in this halfway line like a Vinicius Jr. was playing for Brazil the other day. Nicholas Jackson, you'd expect he presses. Nicholas Jackson will press the hell out of the French centre backs. But I've seen a pattern in US. I've seen a pattern that the first line of press is always there. Teams try to press the defenders. They will not press the midfielders. I have seen time and again, there are very little presses in midfield. They will try to press these channels and try to use these positions where they would try to win the ball and counter, and they stay compact. They do not leave any space. It's a long game. It's a sweaty game. There are hydration breaks in between. Chat, do let me know about your thoughts on the hydration break. I do feel these are bloody advertisement slots. I was seeing this interesting podcast from Lalit Modi the other day where he's like, why he was saying about the strategic timeout. This is exactly the same thing. Think about why American football is 4 quarters. Think about why basketball is also 4 quarters. And this they are trying to re-modernize by let me take a hydration break. You get your stopwatches on and count how much time it takes. It will not take bloody more than 10 seconds. Count. 5 seconds and I'm done. I give you 30 more seconds. 3 minutes absolutely ruins. I remember, I'm going off topic a bit, but I remember Curaçao had Germany by the ropes before that first hydration break. How do you topple that? Once hydration break was over, Germany was Germany, and we know the scoreline, and Brazil fans, the less we talk about that scoreline, it's better. But the hydration break definitely ruins it. And my point in bringing the hydration break is because teams like a Senegal who are sitting deep will try, because whenever you're a possession team, and definitely there are possessional patterns in play, you would expect gaps in here, and there would be transitions in play, and there would be overload to isolate, there would be triangles. But when it starts afresh again, these players suddenly have that energy, and these are strategic targets of teams sitting deep with that low block to actually, it can go both ways. Before that, if Senegal have the ball, France get the hydration break in their favor, France will actually boom on. But I do expect the Senegalese team to actually be calm and composed on defense, because Akalido Koulibaly, Nia Khate in that French league, we've seen not much of him, but he's decent enough to play in top 5 leagues of Europe. Koulibaly, seen and all, done it all, strong as hell. And Malik Diouf, I personally feel that if we do not get a Luis Hall, we would get a Malik Diouf. Should get a Malik Diouf. He's raw, but he has all the qualities for a top class left wing back or a left full back. Van Dijk was a critical of the hydration break. Rare for a United fan like me to agree with the Scouse. Why does the Senegal back look like Arsenal during corners? Oh, this deserves all the love. This deserves all the love. They'll try to be very compact because a Kylian Mbappe would be occupying these channels. A Theo Hernandez will try to cause that overload, or even if Theo Hernandez gets here, they will try to square the ball. Why are you acting weird? They will try to square the ball because there's no central presence. That box presence is not there. You do not expect a Desiree Doué to get late into the box and head the ball. You don't expect an Mbappe. He can do it, but you do not expect on first glance, if he is here, he would make that run, he would be tracked. You'd expect balls being played around the waist height, which is actually the most difficult balls to defend. If you play balls across the floor, defenders very easy to defend because it is at your feet height. If you play balls anything over the waist height, right? Imagine you're playing a football match and a ball is coming in this height to your waistline. How would you try to defend? Because putting that leg up at that point of time takes time, and a striker will already be on the move. and jump and finish. It is much easier to touch and finish than to actually make that clearance. That is scientific. That's basic science. And if he, and like cross spamming, what like Beckham's used to do, it always creates havoc if you have a target man. If I am a defender, right, I would always think, okay, so does the goalkeeper, is the goal, so I would have to take three things into consideration. Is the goalkeeper watching the ball and coming out? Because I would seldom, because I'm too focused on two of, not one man, but two men in that position, because occasionally there would be 2-3 men either who would profit from the cross or who would profit from the knockdown. I'll have to see that in my position. I'll have to see if anybody is behind me making that run. I'll have to also be wary of my partner central defender if he is man marking that space. And it always causes havoc. And it would be imperative for, and as much as difficult it is to play that ball halfway across the chest or halfway across the waist, if it is executed correctly, and it is very difficult to execute it, that is very, very low XG chances, very high XAs, this would be something a head or tail finish. Very difficult to actually jump and then put your feet on the ball. Very difficult to do that. The elite can do that. And guess who's elite in that France squad? All three of them. So it remains to be seen if a Kalidou Koulibaly or if a Diakate, who have the pace, who have the physicality to deal with the aerial threat. Like, I do expect France to bring on Marcus Thuram towards the end of the second half, or towards, maybe if France need a goal, Marcus Thuram has always been their plan B. And whenever I see Marcus Thuram coming onto pitch, I hold up my hand. Like, that guy is, no disrespect, but the Romelu Lukaku of France. He will score you goals, but the entire functional fluidity that the French squad have is just thrown out of the window. Just like a slam dunk, it is thrown out of the window. Senegal actually look like a solid team that can take the game to France instead of sit back and counter. And even think Hassem Aouar is there. Is he? Or am I mixing it up? No, I am mixing it up. What has gone wrong with my corporate brain? Hassem Aouar plays for probably Iran versus Norway. So we'll see more of Hassem Aouar on that match. But what if the Senegalese start to attack? Nicholas Jackson, no, not here. So Koulibaly, Niakate, who's predominantly left-footed, Koulibaly here. Agana Gueye would drop deep. A Diarra and a Gueye in midfield. Diouf has probably the license to bomb forward. We've seen that time and again for West Ham. He's strong, he's bulky, and he will not be afraid to make those runs. And he absolutely have a mean cross in him. His whip on the ball is something that is underrated. Question, who would you be more insulted at the comparison, Lukaku or Thuram? Lukaku, definitely. The man still gives me nightmares. And if Snigdonil was on the chat, he would remember what I was talking about. I was at his place. It is this match, Lukaku stood over the ball and just fell down. How, being a professional footballer, you can do that is beyond me. Like, I would not do that. But he's a 90 million player, and I tore my ACL. I hold my hand up. Now, if Diouf makes that run, a Sadio Mane can head the ball, and Sadio Mane can drop deep, do the playmaking as necessary, because Sadio Mane is that star man. And if you see, actually, going by Akash's comment, they are actually a solid team. They are a more compact team, and they do not have that one big word, EGO. They do not have. They will absolutely play with the badge before. They will play for the crest. They will play for the nation. They will not play for themselves. That is a guarantee that you have. Hassem Aouar will be scoring a hat-trick tomorrow at 6:30. I am not being awake to watch that match. I'm sorry. Because Argentinian fans will kill me if I just predict that on chat. Diouf will make that run, and Nicholas Jackson will definitely be the target man. A Saliba and an Upamecano. So, Nicholas Jackson, I would expect, since Sadio Mane is being here in this position, a Diatta here, and expect Sar to be also crossing. So these two guys will naturally give you that width. They'll try to stay solid in midfield, and whenever they try to attack, you would mostly see this kind of a positional play. Apologies. Why do they just pop back? What is wrong with this app? Like they're trying to probably tell me the average position that they're going to play. That is near towards the goalkeeper. Yeah, now I got it right. I just keep messing up Diata and Diarra. Assar would provide that crossing opportunity and they would also try to fizz balls in. We've seen Ismail Assar in the Premier League and we'd see a Diouf in. So you've got Premier League experience in Nicolas Jackson and Sadio Mane as well. And this does not look weak. I would be concerned if I was Didier Deschamps. I definitely would be concerned. Because of that underdog mentality, France are always expected to win. Spain was expected to win yesterday, matching Germany's goal tally, but that did not happen. That will not, and I'm saying, I'm making this prediction before the end of the video, that will not happen. This will be no walk in the park. As I said earlier, this would be a war on midfield. Who is that playmaker to unblock that defense? Would we see? I do think that Ryan Cherki would be coming on at the halfway point. If Senegal do not do anything crazy and become Van Dijk of Liverpool this season, France have a game on their hand. Senegal can definitely. One thing that will aid Senegal is that they will play with freedom. They will not play with their wings clipped because Mbappe, Tchouaméni, the season that they had for Real Madrid, especially Mbappe, who I feel does want to win the Ballon d'Or, without performances like what he had in the last World Cup, he will be nowhere there. He will absolutely, and this again, if without any major upset, this looks like to be a solid bag in the case for Ousmane Dembele, maybe even a Vitinha, who was absolutely amazing for PSG in this season. Michael Olise also had fantastic season for Bayern, but I do not feel Michael Olise playing for Bayern Munich or even a Harry Kane for that matter, unless they win the Champions League, they are not going to win the Ballon d'Or. What PSG have actually done. Arsenal players, nobody is going to give Arsenal the Ballon d'Or. Like, seriously, man, come on. Nicolas Jackson might even drop deep sometimes to pull up Upamecano, and you've seen this habit of Upamecano that he always essentially follows his man. Trying to win that ball, he gets distracted. He's way too aggressive to actually let that man go, and he's confused. If you see his eyes, sometimes he's confused whether to go, whether not to go, and then probably you'd see a Sadio Mane from here making that channel run. Koundé will drop deep. Diouf, that would allow a Diouf to go in. Suddenly Nicolas Jackson will make that run, and in a foot race, I'd expect Nicolas Jackson to beat Upamecano, and suddenly Saliba has two men to contend with. Expecting Koundé here and not inside the box to stop that cross, which will be the primary concern for French defenders. Stop that cross from Malik Diop, to prevent Malik Diop from doing that overlap. I do not know how much they will be able to do it with an Olise being there, but if they get the chance to break, they would have to be very, very cautious. But oh man, Dembele, Mbappe, Olise is just overkill. Kaka, Dinho, R9 in the Les Blues. Kaka, Dinho, R9, correct me if I'm wrong, 2002 World Cup that Brazil actually won, was Kaka a part of the squad? I do not think so. I remember Ronaldinho breaking through, but I do not think Kaka was in that squad. It can probably be compared. World Cup trios, I do not remember exactly very good World Cup trios. Do drop him on the chat. Do drop him your best World Cup trios that you do remember. Like, I remember duos like Zinedine Zidane and a Thierry Henry. Fantastic. A Ronaldo, an R9 and a Rivaldo. World, like, elite of the elite. Won the match single-handedly versus Germany. I still do not, like, for Argentina, I just can call it a one-man team at that point, supported by his compatriots, but I do not remember a great trio in World Cup football. I know Nathuram Godse, Luthuram. Assassinator of Mahatma Gandhi first touch. Assassination football. Like, I'm surprised that Crepin Thuram does not get a shot at that midfield and it's still Rabiot. I do not know what Crepin Thuram has to do to get into that team. And what Rabiot, like, this is the situation of a Marouane Fellaini. Keep used to play him. I know what Rabiot adds, but is he fast? At 2026, is Rabiot still your go-to midfielder when France, probably out of all the nations, has the biggest pool of talents, and still an Adrien Rabiot is starting? He adds the height, he adds the decent ball playing and will recycle possession. But in transition, if you're caught, like, you do have someone of a Tchouaméni who would sit back. But Rabiot, still 2026. I do have my doubts. What are you on, bro? Arsenal will win the World Cup and Declan Rice will win the Ballon d'Or. Sheesh, bro. Sheesh, Jibogda. Sheesh. We do not go on insulting Arsenal players on the stream. Sometimes they do it for themselves. I do not even have to contribute. I hold my hands up. Coming back into the French squad, let's talk about the impact players that can come on and change the game. A Malo Gusto, if you need that attacking prowess, definitely a Ryan Cherki. But whom will he replace? Mostly a Desiree Doué. Desiree Doué is excellent. I kid you not, when the news broke of the 150 million bid, someone who is a Galactico IX and someone who is young, while Olise was there, I remember, like, Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, it was probably saying that Olise is off limits. The first name that popped into my mind, someone of a Cristiano stature, someone of a Kaka stature, was Desiree Doué. He has done it on the biggest nights and he can play. Probably if I am a Man United fan, if I can get him, I would start him at left wing. Cunha can drop in onto the bench. He's a surefire starter. But Ryan Cherki, someone I wanted at Man United this term. He can play all across that midfield. He's like, the less I talk about Greenwood, his ambidextrousness, Ryan Cherki is someone who could have replaced that. I remember that assist, right, for, I do not remember which team, where Ryan Cherki picked the ball up from here, tried to shoot, did not with his right foot, and suddenly with his left foot, just like a straight drive in cricket, he just toe-poked that ball for someone. I do not remember who finished it. Probably, I do not know if that was a Mark Gehi, but that finish, that was world class. That was one of the elite moves, one of the best plays in Premier League this season that I had. The Great A was World Cup duo was Maradona and Peter Shilton. Thank you, guys. Thank you. I'm going to get destroyed on the chat. I'm going to get destroyed on the chat. Argentina and World Cups remind me of a certain party in West Bengal. While I say that, the positive side of it, my father was, even being a Brazil fan, was a huge fan of Maradona. Like, he was him. Before a Lionel Messi and a Cristiano Ronaldo, it was just Pele and then Maradona. And probably George Best. Because Saka clearly can't perform in the end game. Not the Avengers kind of shit are we pulling here. Whenever Ryan Cherki comes on, right, so I expect Mbappe to play centrally. Dembele, Ryan Cherki here and Olise here. Tchouaméni, Rabiot. And France can definitely play in this style predominantly, not just in possession. Maybe I'm not saying even a 2-3-5 or that kind of a formation. I do not understand 2-3-5s. To be honest, I think that is over-exaggerated because you always have to have three men in and around. They can push up, but that leaves a massive... I've seen Guardiola doing it many times, but I've also seen that long ball being hit. And in this situation, if Koundé pushes up, time and again, that will open up the space. That will absolutely play into Sadio Mane's hands. And Sadio Mane, being Sadio Mane, will exploit. But coming back, Tchouaméni here, Rabiot far centrally, it's expect him to pop the Dembele and Cherki. Now chat. Dembele, left foot, right foot. Cherki, left foot, right foot. Commander Mbappe. Now this spell, on paper, right, this is danger for everyone. Everyone that you would have would absolutely would not want to see these three players. Like, I did expect Cherki to start back of the season that he had, but how can you indefinitely drop a Desiree Doué? I need a second hydration break. You only play 2-3-5 with Smalling. Oh my. Please no. Now Senegal will try to box out that midfield. And that is where probably you needed a Ryan Cherki to actually come drop deep and play to his strengths, being a classical number 10 kind of a player and doing those things he does best with the football. But without him, Desiree Doué, I do not know. Like, Desiree Doué for me is much more direct. Much more direct with the ball. He will attack. But Ryan Cherki would occupy these spaces, and that would actually have enabled Dembele and Mbappe to play those tandems. So Cherki and Dembele would have come here, Mbappe there. That would have given you much more options. So Dembele and Olise, and Cherki and Theo Hernandez, or the other way around, whichever way you prefer it, because both these players, excellent ambidextrous players. I do not know if there are better ambidextrous players in world football. Only Ibanez can stop Olise at this point. Please, not Brazil again. Like, Carlo Ancelotti, out of everyone, decided to field someone who has never played right back throughout his entire career in a World Cup match against, like, I do not know whether to call Morocco finalists or winners, like runners up or winners, but finalists. I'll stick with finalists against AFCON finalists. How do you explain that? I do not have one speck of an idea. Do leave your thoughts on that in the chats. Again, if you're new to the channel, do hit the like button and do subscribe to this channel. You're aiming for 2,000 subscribers by the end of the World Cup, and with your likes, shares and supports, I think we can reach there. But can France actually thinking about it, France, like, I did say France would dominate, but who is going to be that retention point? So I do not call dominating possession if it is around the halfway line. So if the domination is around in this space, the final third, or progressing towards the final third, I would expect, I would call that a domination, like what Spain was doing. But if Spain suddenly, if France suddenly decides to be Spain and just, okay, merry-go-round, hey, in these positions, it is going to be difficult. It is going to be the same low block pattern and counter once again. And unlike a Congo, and not a Congo, unlike a Curacao, Sadio Mane will cause you mayhem. He'll run for 90 minutes. He'll press you for 90 minutes. And he can play striker, he can play number 10, he can play right wing. All of these positions he's played, and played excellently well for Liverpool in the Premier League. And he still can do it. Still, on this day and age, even for Saudi League, he can do it. Now, one of the key duels, if I think just 15 minutes are left for the match. Goodness, I'll try to wrap up really quickly. Deschamps doesn't rate Desiree Doué, but he's starting. Desiree Doué is starting ahead of Cherki. The key battle, actually, if Mbappe plays up top, which I do expect, is with Koulibaly. Now, Koulibaly likes to stay narrow in this position. He likes to dominate the box and likes to be in a position where he can go either way and head the ball. But tonight, that is playing to his strengths. But tonight, there is no one to head that ball until unless of corners. And if you remember, if I talk about corners, you remember Arsenal players, and whom better than Saliba. Mbappe Theo Hernandez, for if I have to be talk about being crucial, Theo Hernandez for me would be crucial tonight. He'd pull away the right back, leave space for an Mbappe or a Desiree Doué. And I'd expect Desiree Doué not to play as a number 10, but he would play basically wherever the half space is. And he'll try to push on wide to support the fullback or support whoever is giving the natural width in that position. Senegal for the win. Trek Whispers, thank you for joining in. Asian teams rooting for African continents and supporting European teams in club football. The irony of choice of man or woman. Now, where this actually concerns me, if this was a Ryan Cherky or a Griezmann, you would expect the dribbles. You'd expect the dribbles from him as well. But the through pass will just not be there on every instance. Desiree Doué loves to dribble. He will dribble. Mbappe loves to dribble. He will dribble. Olise loves to dribble. He will dribble. Dembele loves to dribble. He will dribble. Who in the hell is going to play that final pass? Adrien Rabiot? Seriously, Didier? Seriously, Adrien Rabiot in 2026, you're expecting him to be the main playmaker? Could you have not looked at someone like... there's nobody in the men's, literally. Even like Chouameni is there. Like, tweet me in your suggestions that should have Warren Zaire-Emery. I know he's predominantly played light back, but he can do that for midfield for PSG. He would have been much better. I agree he would not have had that physical presence that a Rabiot brings, but much more dynamism in and around here, and he could have covered ground, and you need to cover ground on transition. If these two are caught in possession, and if this line is vacant, a Nicholas Jackson, an Ismail Assar, and a Sadio Mane in these positions will reap havoc. Will absolutely reap havoc. Now for, I think, the toughest part of the night, because I now have built an expectation of giving in predictions. This is tough. On paper, this looks to be a cakewalk for France, but heart tells you that football is not to be taken lightly. France, I feel, would pressure themselves and try to get that first goal. If France get that first goal in part of that early halves before that first hydration break, France will go and dominate the match, because there will be gaps opening up. Like this Senegal team would try to break forward and try to play football, and that would open up gaps and play to France's strength. So in the first 15 to 20 minutes of the match, you'd expect the French national team to strong attack start. You'd see much more overlaps, but there is a condition to get caught on the counter. You'd have to look at, like, I cannot predict what is going to happen, but I can assume that Senegal would know this and would try to hit them on the counter. Ismail Assar and Sadio Mane, either of them from wherever the ball is. The alternate one would try to maintain that high line width, trying to pull out the defense so that a Nicholas Jackson maybe can make those runs. But it's difficult. It's France at the end of the day. 2 back-to-back World Cup winners. Dibogda literally chooses violence every time. Rabiot is what Rahul Gandhi dreamt of becoming, always guided by mother and convincing. Spam the love button on the chat. Spam the bloody love button on the chat. I am spamming the bloody love button on the chat. Oh my god. Predictions would be essentially, it's a big one. I'd expect a 1-0 or a 2-1 to France. This would be essential in terms of whether France can control and pull out the defenders of Senegal. That remains to be seen. Sadio Mane would have a job on his hands, but I think at the end of the day, this French team is too strong, even on paper. And if you go by the rules of the land, France has always been there, done it. And none other, like Kylian Mbappe, have no less motivation than to prove all his haters wrong and to start off a fantastic season for Real Madrid. He needs this. He needs this. He absolutely needs this. Shomavo's comment is going to get me sacked. I cannot read that out loud. Tech Whisper says, I want the European teams to feel that football outside of Europe and South America has come a long way. It has. See Japan. See the performance that they have had against Netherlands. And this interesting stat is none of the Netherlands team starts that the starting 11 would start, would play their football in the Dutch team. And like what I was listening to this Ranjit Bajaj podcast, that his mission, like what he said about Japan is that their ambition was always to get players out and about and abroad. If 10 players start playing for Champions League from India, India will qualify for that World Cup. And that is what this man's mission is. And that is what we are going to have more of. That content when I bring the bloody legend himself on this. It's going to be heated, it's going to be fiery, it's going to be hot. But that is after the World Cup. Because if I stream Indian content, I'll act as Mark Goldbridge for that time being. That was the prediction. I've seen a lot of predictions saying, Bakchi says 1-0 for France. Spain versus Cabo Verde, prime example, gem of a game. Spain were bloody lazy. If Trek Whispers, if you have seen the first half of the podcast, Spain were lazy. Spain could have won this match day in, day out. It could have been 10-0 if Spain wanted to be, but Spain did not want it enough. They were bloody complacent. They felt that the goal was coming, but time ran out. And France will take a page out of that book. And France would definitely, as I said, the game will be decided in the first 20 minutes. If France have that breakaway, initially, they'll try to put on pressure. They'll try to draw the defenders out. They'll start on a strong. You'd expect French national team to start on a strong. If they get that first goal, the French national team will dominate. If they do not, it is, I do predict, but I still do predict a 2-1, maybe because the French team has this habit of pulling a rabbit out of their hat and scoring Fergie time goals. Rooting for the underdogs. We always root for the underdogs. It's just 8 minutes to kick off. I would expect none other than a fantastic match. Also, Argentina start tomorrow. I am not covering Argentina at this point of time. I'll cover Argentina when it is on a weekend and when I do not have to wake up the next morning to do my job. Like the opposite end of the spectrum from when I was streaming. But it is fun. It is fun balancing both of the things. World Cup, I do not have much time to actually do the research, the in-depth analysis that I used to do frame by frame. But expecting your love and support for what is going to be underwhelming yet exciting in it. It's football, and at the end of the day, it's what keeps us together. It's what keeps us alive. To enjoy the match, I will enjoy the match. I've still not had dinner. Have your dinner because France, I think, will be cooking. Do leave a like on the video. Do share this video with your friends, and do subscribe to the channel if you are new. With that, this is Neil, hoping for a good match, expecting a good match. Can Mbappe dominate? Would France be too reliant on Mbappe? Is Didier Deschamps holding the French national team back? Or will Sadio Mane repeat the first game of the 2002 World Cup? It is yet to be seen. I'll see you tomorrow discussing the Portugal for all the glitz and glamour. Again, one of the contenders, start of the campaign for Congo. We'll have that analysis for tomorrow. But right now, all the eyes are versus... Would I be cancelled if I say it was France versus France? I'll leave you with that thought. Have a good rest of the evening. This is me, Neil, wishing or hoping that it is an absolute banger. See you all tomorrow. I do need to work on my endings, but hope this does not keep us awake for that much of a long time. See you all tomorrow. 10:30 is the match. I'll try to do the stream on 9:30. I'll have that up on my Instagram. Do follow Netflix Football HD on Instagram as well. Get ready for the match.